For the past 2 years, I've been working the night shift at McDonald's, clocking in from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. It's a routine I've grown accustomed to, despite the challenges of staying awake during the long, quiet hours. Between 2 and 4 a.m., we rarely get customers, so the crew usually spends that time deep cleaning the kitchen, preparing food for the morning shift, or checking inventory in the backstock area. Everything was always routine, predictable even, until one eerie night at 3 a.m. Assigned to the counter, I was struggling to stay awake in the freezing restaurant. With no customers walking in, I decided to take a short nap. I glanced into the kitchen where my coworkers were busy preparing an order for a drive-through customer. The dining area was empty, and the only sound was the hum of the fluorescent lights and the occasional clatter from the kitchen. I felt a chill that seemed to seep into my bones, making the cold night even more unbearable. Desperate for a moment's rest, I sat on a chair and rested my head on the counter. The moment my eyes closed, I felt a wave of fatigue wash over me. After about 15 minutes, just as I was drifting into a light sleep, I heard the glass door open and felt a cool breeze brush against my body. Footsteps approached, and assuming a customer had walked in, I lifted my head to greet them. But no one was there. I rubbed my eyes, blinking rapidly to clear my vision. The restaurant was still empty. Confused but too tired to dwell on it, I decided to get back to my duties. As I stood around, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling, I peeked into the kitchen. The crew was still cleaning up, completely absorbed in their tasks. When I turned back to the counter, my heart skipped a beat. A man was standing there, his head bowed low, obscuring his face. "Hello, what can I get for you?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. The man remained silent, unmoving. Thinking he was still deciding, I told him to take his time. I glanced back at the kitchen, hoping to signal my manager. When I turned around, the man was gone. I looked around, bewildered. The counter was about 6 meters from the exit, and I would have seen him leave. The doors hadn't opened, and there was no sign of him anywhere in the restaurant. Just then, my manager came out from the kitchen, looking confused. "Who are you talking to?" she asked, her eyes scanning the empty counter. "I was just talking to a customer," I stammered, pointing to where the man had been standing. But as I turned to point, there was no one there. "He was right here," I insisted, feeling a cold sweat break out on my forehead. I was taking his order, but then he vanished. My manager frowned, her expression a mix of concern and skepticism. "I saw you say, 'Hello, what can I get for you?' But you weren't talking to anybody." Fear gripped me as I ran to my manager's side, clinging to her arm. My heart was pounding in my chest, and I could feel the blood draining from my face. I couldn't understand what had just happened. A week later, after my shift, I bumped into Wesley, a coworker from another fast food joint. We chatted for a while, catching up on work and life. Wesley and I had known each other for years, and it was always good to see a familiar face after a long night. As we talked, he mentioned something that made my blood run cold. He said that last week, his younger brother had passed away. Wesley explained that his brother frequently visited our shop around 3 a.m. to order food for his boss. He was a night owl, much like us, and often stopped by to grab a snack. That night, he was about to order some snacks when a speeding car struck him while he was crossing the street. He died instantly, Wesley said, his voice heavy with grief. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I listened to Wesley's story. It hit me hard. The unexplained events I experienced happened around the same time his brother died. The same date and time. I couldn't shake the feeling that the man I saw that night was Wesley's brother, somehow caught between this world and the next, trying to complete his final order. Was it just a coincidence? Or had I truly encountered the ghost of Wesley's brother? The thought haunted me, leaving me with more questions than answers. The night shift at McDonald's had always been routine, but after that night, nothing felt the same.